Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of the Popping Culture Podcast. I'm Jay.
I'm Adrian, and here with us is devoted fan and friend.
I'm Autumn.
Autumn. All right. So we are here with another week of alcohol-ridden reviews of pop culture. What are we drinking this week?
Autumn, since it's by your request, why don't you tell us what we have here?
Here we have Maker's 46. It's a Kentucky bourbon whiskey, and it's incredible.
So now I've had regular Maker's Mark. What's the difference between regular Maker's Mark and Maker's 46?
The barrel that it's aged in. And like we talked about before, the wax is coming off everywhere.
So we're going to get a couple glasses of this poured so that we can test it out. Just pop goes the cork. All right.
Ladies first, so get Jay.
Oh.
That's a played out joke, isn't it?
I know. All right, so there's one.
And Autumn, while you're pouring, before we taste it, since Jay and I have already done our introductions about who we are, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, my name is Autumn. I guess you guys already know that. And I like whiskey and comic books and many a video game and not many other nerdy things.
But those are all the nerdy things we love. Whiskey, comic books. All right. In which case, cheers, everyone.
Yeah, that's terrible. No, I'm kidding. It's very good.
It's delicious.
It's
Very good.
wonderful.
Okay, so
It's even better without ice.
I agree.
you know what? I'm an individual. I'm a unique individual. I'm a pretty flower, and I like mine with ice. Thank you. So we're going to try to jump right into things since we are never actually under the time limit we set for ourselves. Not once.
Never.
So
We'll
we're
be
gonna
done within 3 hours this week, I promise.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the TV portion will be 3
Yeah,
hours.
yeah,
Then
right.
we'll move into that.
Okay.
Let's start off with, speaking of which, TV.
Okay.
Jay?
So I think I mentioned last week I've been binge watching Californication.
Yep.
Into the 2nd season of that, which now that got thrown onto Instant Queue on Netflix, it's much easier to watch like 12 episodes in a row, and they're only 28 minutes each. So we're into the 2nd season of that. It's pretty good. But the other thing that I watched this week that's crazy funny to me, back in 1943. Back in the 40s, 30s, 40s, they used to do these things called serials at the theaters. So nobody had home TV service. Cable wasn't really a thing. So if you wanted to go watch something, you went to like a theater and they would show the films there, and they would do serials. So every week they would put out a new episode of something, much like we have TV this week, or today. One of the things they did in 1943 was a Batman serial.
Yes.
Batman had only been around a couple years, but he had already been very popular, so they made a serial. And this was done during World War II. So one of the things I've been laughing at is there's a lot of racial slurs against the Japanese, which was totally fine at the time. Obviously, we would censor that now. But at one point, they end up in Little Tokyo, which apparently Gotham has a Little Tokyo.
Gotham has a little everything.
Right.
Whatever the scriptwriter needs.
And in this series, Batman is actually a secret agent for the government, so he's on government missions. They're trying to get him to find something. I don't even remember what it is. Plans for a bomb or something. I don't know. But he goes into Little Tokyo and he's talking to Robin. He's like, this place used to be an image in the image of Japan, but then some wise governments got smart and rounded up all those slanty-eyed Japs.
Wow.
And I forgot that it was from 1943 at first. So I heard that and I'm like, what did I just hear? And I busted out laughing. But it is a 15-part serial. So each one's about 15 minutes to 18 minutes. And then next week you would go back to the theater and watch another one. So I've gotten through the first 7 of them so far. First 2.5 hours. I've got 2.5 hours left. That disc's at home, but I haven't watched it yet.
So as socially insensitive as you were before, this is just making you worse.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
You mean better.
right, better. It doesn't matter that I work for a Japanese company. I don't really care.
That's different. I mean, those... I can't even say it. I can't even
It's
say it.
slanty-eyed Japs.
No, wow!
Oh.
Yes.
There goes the only funding we had. My wallet. Autumn? Television, dear.
I am currently rewatching a few things,
Okay.
including Supernatural and Gilmore Girls. But most recently, I'm watching 10th Kingdom.
I never heard of the 10th
I've
Kingdom.
not heard of that
Never
either.
of the 10th Kingdom.
Let's hear
It's
it.
incredible. It's also sort of a serial. It's 5 discs, each with total of 7 episodes, and the episodes are about 2 hours each. And it's about this fairy tale world that exists in another universe, and there's 9 kingdoms within. Cinderella's kingdom, Snow White's kingdom, etc. And they somehow fall into New York, which is the 10th kingdom.
I believe I've seen this before when it was called Once Upon a Time.
I was going to say the same thing.
It's very Once Upon a Time or Fables-esque.
Okay.
But it's also very early 90s.
Okay.
So it's...
I like that.
Yeah, it's got a lot of very old actors in it.
Lacey Chabert is going to be in it then because it's early 90s. So
this
she's in
is live action?
Yes.
Okay.
Live action with trolls and a dog who's also the prince of the kingdom, and Cinderella's 300 years old. So it takes place long after all the fairy tales that we know.
So Cinderella's a cougar, is what you're saying?
Totally.
Okay.
And she's hot.
So she's 300 years old and still looks good for her age.
She's had that magical surgery.
I'm like 31 and I look like I'm 75.
I mean, we can't all be winners.
Oh, God. Is it because I put ice in my whiskey, guys?
It totally
Tell it to me
That's
straight.
no, that's totally weird. Tell it to you straight. Good.
Yeah, do you like that?
Yeah, nice.
Yes! Pun for the win. That's it. I'm done for the day.
We just started. We're already rocky.
So, you had mentioned Supernatural and Gilmore Girls. You and I talked about this earlier. Many years ago we met because of Supernatural, really.
That's true.
I had never seen the show until recently. I'm on episode 2. What do I have to look forward to?
Well, Sam gets whinier.
I already don't like that.
Dean gets hotter. And the demons get so far out there that there comes a point where I've kind of sat back and been like, really? Really, Supernatural? And then it's one of those that, like you guys, I'm a completionist, so I have to go back to it. And well worth it. If you get past the awkward season, I think 6 is kind of awkward. If you get past that, it goes right back into all the origins that made you fall in love in the first place.
Did you ever watch the Angel or Buffy series?
I watched Buffy and did not get a chance to watch Angel.
Okay, so was it the same thing where it started out good, and then like the middle seasons just got too out of whack, too weird, and brought it back around towards the end?
Not quite, because there was never any point that I thought, you jumped the shark, because they tied in all the loose ends from the first 4 or 5 seasons. Okay. So it was still consistent. It just got to a point that personally I felt like individual episodes weren't exciting enough to keep me engaged. I only watched to see the overall story arc progress.
Okay, that makes sense. So learn it on Wikipedia. I could probably skip a couple seasons.
Don't. Because then they will reference somebody who's dead or undead or never died in the first place, and you'll be heartbroken.
That's okay. I will soldier on. I have no good TV news. Watching Last Man Standing still. Watching Arrow still. Episode 2 on Supernatural, I don't have an opinion yet, aside from Sam is whiny, and Dean wears a very heavy, very warm leather jacket all the time, even when other people are in shorts and tank tops, so whatever. That didn't sound catty, right?
No, not at all.
Only a little bit.
I'll go to movies, however. I did see a movie this week. I saw The Giver.
Okay, now, before
you... Wow, you are making a... All right, go ahead.
Before you tell me how much you didn't like the movie... I loved this book as a kid, and I just actually recently found out that they made a movie. I didn't know. But what concerns me is Taylor Swift is in it.
Taylor Swift is in it?
I heard she's in it. Maybe like just a cameo
I don't recall her in it.
Well,
although I did learn something about Taylor Swift as I was driving with...
T-Swizzle?
T-Swizz.
So T-Swizz is apparently, since talking about the early 90s with 10th Kingdom, do you guys remember Michelle Branch?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She's everywhere.
Yes, but listen to Michelle Branch and think of Taylor Swift. It's the same damn song, the same voice, the same everything. Like, no, people, pause, put us on pause. You're on YouTube. Open a new tab, listen to Michelle Branch everywhere, and think Taylor Swift. See, it's the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
Now, okay, are you talking Michelle Branch's solo career?
Yes, not the
records.
not the records, solo career.
Because I do love me some records.
I agree.
I never listened to the records.
Oh.
You're missing out.
Okay, so you watched The Giver.
Wow. Yes, and like
with
you...
your ice.
God damn it.
I watched The Giver, and like you, I read it when I was a kid, because it was one of the books that was required.
Right, 4th grade.
Yeah. So I read it, and I grew up with fond memories of it. I realized when I went to the movie theater, I had no memory of what was actually happening in the book. I just remember I liked it as a kid.
Okay.
So I went into the movie expecting it to be bad. Because I saw the trailers, I've seen the Hunger Games, I've seen all these other ones, and I'm like, this is going to suck. I walked out pleasantly surprised. Okay. It was as good as Sin City. So on par with Sin City.
The second Sin City.
Yes.
Okay.
Still better than the Ninja Turtles.
Well, no, yeah, that's a given.
Wait, new Ninja Turtles?
Yes.
Okay, then that's...
Yes, it's better than the current Michael Bay Ninja Turtles and a little bit better than Sin City Damned to Kill 4.
Okay.
It wasn't as over the top as I thought it was going to be. Obviously, the science in it makes no sense, but who cares? That's fine. The effects were well enough. The acting was good enough. I like the black and white, the use of colors. So I was pleased enough. Pay for it in the theaters? No. DVD, Netflix? Totally.
Good thing you didn't have to pay for it.
Did not have to pay for it. Thank you, MoviePass.
Yeah.
Can you give me the TLDR, because my generation did not read The Giver in school.
Okay. And to show you the generational gap, I don't know what TLR is, man.
Too long, didn't read.
Thank you.
I just learned that 2 weeks ago.
For those of you who don't know, Jay is also as effeminate as our friend Autumn here.
No.
Have you noticed today, like, you bring Autumn in, suddenly the insults are just flying out today.
It has nothing to do with feminism. It has to do with trying to understand what the fuck Reddit is all about.
No, don't do that.
I know.
Ooh, just don't even try.
Go to 4chan. It's just the photo version of Reddit.
Oh, except worse.
Yeah.
And not in the good way.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, God.
I'll show you some things.
Do I want you to?
So The Giver is essentially...
It's a caste system.
No. No, it's post-apocalyptic, and they have removed all emotions from everybody. There's no feelings. It's socialism. There's no individuality. Everyone has their assigned job based on their skills.
I guess that's what I was saying. More socialism in the caste system, where you don't get to decide what you do. It's determined for you.
Yes, they observe you all the way up to your 18th birthday and realize you have a gift for this. Like, had they observed me, they'd say, you have a gift for drinking and laziness. You're going to be a drunk. Yes.
Just like real life.
I've read a book about that.
Yeah. Right?
Is it 18? Maybe the movie's 18. I feel like it was younger in the book.
It might be younger. I'm just because they look 18, but they're probably playing 16 or 15.
Look at the people from Saved by the Bell.
Look at Modern Family. The oldest daughter's like 27 years old, and she's playing a college freshman.
Yeah, I think in the book it was like 12.
No, it's definitely older than that. It's definitely, let's go with 16.
Okay,
let's split the middle. And they find out, like, their jobs. And this one guy find out he's the receiver of memory. So the giver gives him all the memories from all our lifetimes. So he's the only person who ever knew what war is, what anger, hatred, love, compassion, all these things is. And he's decided he's going to break it down and bring it to everybody. So that's pretty much what it was about.
And he tries to escape on a sled.
Escapes on a sled.
Yeah.
I like sleds.
The sled is in there. The sled is, like the book, is in the movie.
Rosebud on the bottom?
What's that?
Rosebud?
No, Citizen Kane references. Okay. So yeah.
Sorry, that was a movie from the 40s. Just throwing that out there.
So I'll drink awkwardly.
So you would give it like a 6.
6 out of 10. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I think it's a good assessment. Better than some of the comic books that are out there right now. That's for damn sure.
That is true.
Wow. Speaking of comic books, Jay, what do you got to review?
All right, so this is what I read this week. Actually, funny story before we get into comics. So you know what? I'm reading a lot of things digitally now.
Absolutely. I know you don't have your Kindle with you.
Well, here's
which surprises me.
No, here's why. Out of the books that I read normally, there was only one book I read this week that I came out this week that I would normally read digitally. That's Batman Eternal.
Okay.
I actually did not get a chance to read that. But here's what I did when I went to buy Batman Eternal. I had scrolled through all of the new releases this week. I'm like, I read that book, and I read that book, and I added a bunch of books to my cart.
The ones you buy in print?
Exactly. I bought them, and then I ran to the comic store, and I bought my print books, and I got everything back, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure that 3 of the books that I just read in print, I bought digitally. So I emailed Comixology real quick, and I'm like, hey, I'm an idiot. I screwed up. Is there any way you could credit my account what I paid for these, and I'll buy other books instead? They're like, well, we don't normally do that, but sure. I'm like, yes.
There you go. Awesome.
Customer service. So what I have in print in front of me, which is what I read, is Lazarus, number 11 from Image, Invincible, number 114 from Image, Green Lantern Corps Futures End #1 from DC, Batman Futures End #1, and Batgirl Futures End
And
#1.
even rougher. The best thing about the Batman and Batgirl Futures End is the advertisement on the back of it.
For American Dad?
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah, it's a great show.
I've never watched it.
Watch it.
Alright.
So,
Right after I get done with everything else that I'm in the middle of.
look at you only have like 200 in your queue, man. You're gonna
No, that's DVD.
He obviously has to finish Pretty Little Liars before he can carry on with American Dad.
Right. Which I'm only a third of the way through season 3 on.
Further than I am.
what? How many seasons is there of Pretty Little Liars?
They just took their summer break from season 5.
Okay, so you get all caught up and catch it on Hulu.
On Netflix.
On Netflix when it comes around.
And now I have to start watching Sons of Anarchy again because that started back last night.
Already?
It's final ride. It's the last season.
I know, but it's starting before most shows start. Because most shows aren't starting until a couple more weeks or October.
Right. But this is also only a 13-episode season show
Right.
on
Okay.
FX. So they're like, we might as well get out in front of all this other stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So for my review, I just have too many to go over. So the ones I will be discussing are going to be Avengers 34.1,
Oh, we're doing points again.
only for very rarely. Amazing Spider-Man #6, and the Constantine trade paperback #1.
Okay, before we get into reviews, I need your reaction. I don't know if you've seen this story yet. So we're in the middle of the death of Wolverine. Our buddy Charles Soule
Love you.
is writing Death of Wolverine. After Wolverine dies, Wolverine and the X-Men is going to end.
Yes!
And become Spider-Man and the X-Men?
Cannot wait.
Oh,
Yes.
you are terrible.
No, you know why I'm not
No.
terrible? It's because Dan Slott has been doing such a good job. Nick Lowe with the editorial. Nick did the editorial on Amazing Spider-Man, all the Spider-Man families, before he jumped over to the X-Men family. So he
Right.
has a familiarity with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Now he's going to edit him. So Spidey's going to play the guidance counselor. He's not going to be a teacher. He's just going to be there's a guidance counselor. And who better to guide high school kids who are out of their element than Peter Parker?
Anybody else?
No, that's fair. Peter
I
Parker
don't-
is pretty familiar with being out of his element.
The other
Yeah.
thing I like is they already made the announcement that even though he was chosen by the staff, students don't necessarily like him. They mock him for not being a mutant. So it's not going to be like, hey, we're all buddy-buddy, like he was with the Future Foundation, the FF. It's going to be some adversity, and I'm looking forward to
If
it.
there's a love story between him and Kitty Pryde, I'm going to be pissed.
Okay,
Keep
first,
that in the Ultimate Universe.
Kitty Pryde is currently Star-Lord's girl. And if you read
Yeah,
Amazing
that's even
if you
worse.
read Amazing Spider-Man, he has his own woman now.
Yeah, for now,
For now.
I dig it.
like a well.
Totally.
Okay.
Your first review, buddy.
Oh, are you? I'm sorry. Did you?
Book list. We're going to get to her momentarily.
All right. No, let's go ahead. I bring shame to girl comic book readers everywhere by only having one thing on my poll this week, Hawkeye, and I'm not caught up. Oh, I guess we're on issue number 20,
Spoiler.
and
It's ending.
It is
I'm not caught up. I am
Matt
at
Fraction's
least...
last book. He's leaving Marvel. Matt Fraction's leaving Marvel once Hawkeye's over.
Why didn't I know?
Did you not
Apparently
get
you're
the
not
memo?
caught up.
Oh, did you not get the memo? Okay, he's been doing this book called Sex Criminals over
Wait,
at
what's that?
Image. I can't even tell you. Like, I can curse on this podcast like shamelessly. I can't tell you what Sex Criminals is because I feel like I'd be judged.
All right, so sorry, Hawkeye. I'm moving on to that
Okay.
because I am too far behind to even discuss catching up right now.
So
Okay.
what are you going to discuss with us? You got to bring something to the comic book table discussion. Why don't you tell us about a series that you love?
Well, much to Jay's dismay, I am currently in love with the current Harley run.
Written by?
Written by Palmiotti and his lovely wife, Amanda Connor,
That's right.
which I met Amanda Connor last year, but Jimmy was ill and couldn't be there. I'm still heartbroken. Obviously, I'm still hurt, Jimmy.
She used to teach around here, actually.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, at the Art Institute of Seattle. And then a little while at DigiPen.
The more you know.
Can we get that sound in there?
You're our editor, buddy.
That's true.
So,
So,
tell us a little about the Harley series.
I don't really want to give anything away to the people that think she's just obsessed with her pet stuffed beaver. Because if you read her secret origin story, it really explains it and brings light to the whole situation and makes it less annoying and more sentimentally fulfilling.
Does she call it puddin'?
She doesn't. That is obviously reserved for Mr. J.
Look, I don't read
unless
Harley.
you watch Attack on Arkham.
Right, and then it's
Deadshot.
weird.
It's practically a free-for-all at that point. So it's progressing really well. It's less linear and more following Harley's shenanigans. And if you love the character and everything that Bruce Timm even brought to the table
Sure.
way back, then it's great. But if you get hung up on little things like continuity or that the art style seems to change a little bit more than I would like, then you'll get caught up. But it's really good.
So is it maybe DC's version of Deadpool, where don't try to bring continuity to it, understand the fourth wall may be broken down, things won't make sense, it's just a fun read?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a fun read if you love the character more than what current storyline she may be in.
It is a non-canon book. And one thing that I will say that I really liked about this series as a whole, the Zero issue that launched it, they didn't it was like 2 pages by one artist, and then it switched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's 2 pages from another artist. And
Do you know why that is?
Was that the test for
Was
who
it
got the job?
auditionary?
It was an auditionary. So essentially DC had amateur artists send in some work, and then they chose some to do that Harley Quinn issue.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of unnamed artists.
So, and I read the first 4 or 5 issues, and the first couple I was like, oh, this is kind of funny, and then it just kind of kept being the same joke every issue, and I'm like, I'm not going to put $2.99 every week or every month just to see the same jokes in a different light. I mean, at one point, she was attracted to Poison Ivy because of Poison Ivy's pheromones, and I'm like, I feel like that's just shock value, like the girl going after the girl.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But, and like I said, that was issue 4, issue 5 that I stopped. And they're on, 12 or 13 now? So, things could have changed since then.
Well, I mean, since then, Power Girls come literally crashing into the scene, and Harley's kind of switched up her attire, and it's hilarities ensued. That's all I'm going to leave you
I
with.
saw that cover where she's trying to be a little bit more like Power Girl.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued. It's one I'll probably pick up in trade. Okay. Review time,
My
brother.
man.
All right, my turn.
Yeah, it is.
So, I have yet to get to talk about Lazarus on this show.
And you love Lazarus.
I do. I don't know if either of you are familiar with the concept behind Lazarus.
I am, but in everybody
so here
else.
we go. Lazarus, it's a Greg Rucka book, illustrated by Michael Lark. Like I said, it's only issue 11, so there's not that many issues that have come out so far. The concept behind it is at some point all the world governments failed, essentially, and powerful families took over territories. So the main family we've been reading about so far is the Carlisle family. They essentially control all of the west coast of North America from San Diego on up through Canada.
Okay.
So each ruling family gets to decide how they want to rule their territory. Each family's got their head, and they're essentially run gangland-ish, where it's like a mob. But each family has what's called a Lazarus, and each family can decide what their Lazarus wants to be. The Carlisle Lazarus is an elite military specialist. So she's trained in all types of combat and guerrilla warfare and all that kind of stuff. Different families tend to clash with each other. There's alliances between certain families and between other families, but for the most part, they're all vying for predominance. And this is throughout all continents. So the Carlisles are like the west coast of North America. There's somebody that's got most of Central and East America. There's a South American family, a Russian family, all that sort of stuff. So in this issue, we see that previously one of the Carlisle children tried to escape after he tried to frame his sister for something. He escaped, tried to go to another family and seek refuge. That family took him hostage instead and is using him to barter for more power with the Carlisle family.
Okay.
In this issue, it opens up with one of the families that's allied with that other family. So Hawk is where the brother went. Bittner is one of their allies. The Bittner Lazarus comes into Carlisle territory and is demanding a conference with the head of the Carlisle family. And essentially they're trying to set up this exchange. They'll give back the Carlisle son for money. Well, turns out this is all something that's been planned by the head of the Carlisle family. He let his son go because he knew he was going to get taken hostage and all this. So he's trying to call a meeting of the heads of all the different families in the world. He's kind of letting it seem like he's going to try to take over and be in control of everything. So it's a power move on his part. He essentially sacrificed his son to be able to try to get more power out of all the families. And then you also see, as a secondary storyline, the Lazarus of the Carlisle family, whose name is Forever. She has been genetically engineered. The Carlisle family is into genetics. That's their big thing, their business. So Forever has had all these modifications done to her. She's progressing faster than they thought she would. She's, to steal from the $6 million mine, stronger, faster, better than they thought.
Okay.
So now she's starting to become more aware of things also. She's questioning things. She starts questioning, am I really a Carlisle child? Was the head of the Carlisle family, like the person I've always considered my dad, was he my dad? And was my mom really my mom? Was I born like a natural person? Or is there something else to it? So that's starting to become another issue in here where she's going to start questioning things and not following orders like she's always been taught to. So that's something that's going to be coming up in the next storyline.
Free-thinking women is always something to fear.
It is.
Yeah.
One of the things I really love about this comic, Greg Rucka has really built a world. In the first storyline of this first 6 issues, in the letters pages on the side content, he actually built a timeline where this is the sequence of events that happened to get the world to where it is, like how the governments collapsed and how the families started to take power and how different families formed and things like that. So in every issue he gives the history of another family. So in this issue, he gave the history of the Martins industrial family.
Okay.
So he gives the whole history of how the company started and who's in charge of it now and everything like that. And then another thing he does is the back page is an ad for the fake company.
That's pretty cool.
So instead of the normal back page ad for another comic by the company or a
TV show like we just mentioned, yeah,
it's actually a full page ad for a fake company that he's made up. So he's really, really building a world where you start to understand the companies that are in it, the players that are in it.
Will you do me a favor? Will you email that email address that's on there about recruiting
I will.
to join them?
I absolutely will.
Fantastic.
Last month's issue was the... I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it was essentially the company that's in charge of all the Russian and Eastern European former Soviet bloc countries. The ad that was on the back was completely in Russian. And I took out my Google Translate app, and I took pictures of it and translated it, and it was a real, like, word-for-word correct ad. They did all the detail. It wasn't just, you get some, like, fake Cyrillic letters. They did a full translation ad in there.
Well, Google Translate, I'm sure they did the same thing you did.
Yeah.
Universe.
So that's one of the things that I've really loved about this is it's not just a story about some characters. It's a full world that you're being exposed to.
Okay.
It sounds like a really tangled web of storylines and alliances and families. You mentioned the timeline and the brief intro on each issue. How much does it take to actually get a full comprehension before you can enjoy the story for what it is?
So one of the nice things that he's done is, like I said, most of the issues focus on the one family. And every couple issues, he'll bring in a little bit from another family.
Okay.
So it's a very, very minor world building. So you could really jump into issue 11 here, and he references enough in it that you know what's going on. You don't have to have read all 10 issues previously to understand who all the characters are.
Okay.
I think he really goes with, I think it was Chris Claremont who had this ideology that treat every comic as if it's somebody's first comic. So don't just, reference 30 years of back matter, but as you bring in different elements in your single issue, make sure you're giving enough information that people can understand it.
So, for instance, in books like The Amazing Spider-Man, something will happen, and it'll be a little asterisk that
Editor's
says,
note.
Editor's note, see issue 635. Okay, well, great. What happened in issue 635?
Right.
Okay.
So, 11 issues in. They actually, I want to say it was issue 9, moved the price point from $2.99 issue to $3.50. Purely because they weren't getting all the ad support. There is, if you flip through one of these issues, there is 0 ads. So it's really 22 pages of actually, I think it's like 26 pages of story.
Okay.
So that's why they.
Well,
had
that's
to move the
always
price
nice too.
But yeah, no ads in the interior of the book. Like I said, no ad on the back. It's purely you pick up the book and you're 100% reading Lazarus.
That's pretty awesome.
So-
I like that a lot.
How does the perspective work? Does it change per issue?
Or
Or is it consistent but just by a different family or character?
So, like I said, the majority, it's all from the Carlisle perspective.
Okay.
You're essentially third-person view of the Carlisle camp. And then occasionally it'll flash to a conversation that the Carlisles are having with another family. Or, like I said, the son right now is being held by the Hawk family. So you'll see him in the office of the guy that's in charge of the Hawk family, but he's there. So far, there's always been a Carlisle in the story.
In the story,
in
okay.
some way, shape, or form.
I'm sold.
So you're looking forward to it?
I
It's
am.
worth you suggesting it to be read.
Like I said, this is my favorite comic that's coming out right now. It's always top of my stack. It comes out on a 5-week schedule because there's so much. Greg Rucka does so much research into what he's putting into it.
Okay.
Because while he's making up the world, he's also pulling in elements from real life science stories that are happening right now.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
things they're doing in research, breakthroughs, things like that, potential theorems they're coming up with. He'll bring in elements of that so that it makes it a little bit more.
So he's
real.
doing his due diligence. It's not fake science like
Right.
you'll find in Marvel or DC.
Exactly. It's not a biogenetic recombinator that makes Spider-Man.
Speaking of fake science, what's up, Amazing Spider-Man? It's a good book. I love Amazing Spider-Man. Totally fake science. So we're back at issue 6. Doc Ock is no longer Spider-Man. Peter Parker is back at the helm as the Amazing Spider-Man. He's now he's damage control from what Doc Ock had done. So Felicia Hardy the Black Cat is now against him. He has now a new company that Otto made. Like all these crazy things. He's like, well, shit, I gotta clean all this up. I like where it's going. There's some parts of it where I'm not a huge fan of. I had a conversation with someone earlier today, and we both kind of came to the conclusion of we like the Black Cat in small doses.
Okay.
She's one of those characters who I love as an accessory. Kind of like the Legion of Superheroes. I love them in small doses. They're great support characters. Black Cat's the same way. She's been featured for the past 6 issues. They're now making her kind of the new queen of crime, and I don't need that so much. With everything else that's going on, I really dig it. It's fun story writing. Dan Slott has been doing a phenomenal job with Spider-Man for the past several years, including bringing Doc Ock to be in Spider-Man, taking Doc out, and everything else. We do find out one thing that has a lot of people upset is Peter Parker was not the only one bitten by the radioactive spider.
I heard that.
Yes, there's also a woman who has similar powers. Some of them are stronger, some of them are not as strong. She goes by the name of Silk. Her webbing is different. It's more removable, so she makes her costume with it and can just take it off her. Her strength is not as strong. Her agility is about equal, but her spider sense is much more attuned than his is. Also, since they both have a spider pheromone, they kind of go nuts around each other, and it gets real physical real fast. So I get where they're going with that and why it's in there. At the same time, I didn't realize spiders were like rabbits. Because as I recall, the phrase is like rabbits, not like spiders.
Right.
Did you see that tarantula go at it? No, never. Think about it.
It could be that spiders are just more creepy to think about.
Really? Think about it. Have you ever seen a spider having sex?
Yes.
What?
Whoa.
We are watching different kinds of porn. What are you looking at?
Not so much porn as nature.
So National Geographic.
Somebody needed some nurture in her upbringing. Where did you see this?
I mean, we had a lot of pet tarantulas as kids.
Oh, well, hold on. That's
Wait.
different.
Did you say a lot of pet tarantulas?
Well, I mean, a handful at the very least.
I feel like one is a handful.
Depends on the hand. And the tarantula.
Handfuls. 2 hands, buddy.
Mm.
Male, female. That's different then. So in captivity, sure, you're going to see it happen.
You didn't give me any qualifiers. You asked, have you seen any spiders
She
going
has a
at
point
it?
there.
No, that's, you know what? There's egg on my face.
I mean, is Silk hot?
What's that?
Is Silk hot?
She's a comic book character. Of course she's hot. Can you think of any There's even one in here who is supposed to be unattractive, and you're still like, all right. I mean, I'm not saying I'm 100% in, but finish this whiskey, I'll consider it.
Fair.
Right? Overall, though, it's a fun read. It's about to transverse into the Edge of the Spider-Verse, which I have one of those in here. Edge of the Spider-Verse. Essentially, there's a huge baddie that's going to take every Spider-Man from every dimension ever created to all come together and kick some spider ass.
Please tell me Peter Porker is in there.
Peter Porker is in here.
Yes! Yes!
So, really looking forward to how this turns out. It's probably going to be one of Marvel's crossovers that I'm going to enjoy. I've been enjoying all of Dan Slott's crossovers, his big epic stuff, his sweeping stories, his small ones, so I'm looking forward to it much more than Axis.
Right.
Because I was burned on Original Sin. And I don't think I'm going to do Axis in single issue. Do you hear me? Marvel, I'm not going to do Axis in single issue. Your next review, buddy.
All right, so I was going to talk about another book that I enjoyed, but I think I'm going to go the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah. What about Batgirl?
Exactly. You know it. All right.
Oh.
So,
Wait 1 second.
okay.
Let's get our co-host have a word in. Are you up to date with Batgirl? Just kind of, maybe not yourself reading it, but just kind of what's going on.
No, because I'm not a fan of Batgirl. I do not like Batgirl.
Oh, I want to hear about this because she is, and I mean no disrespect from this, she's the token female comic book character. Like right now, you either have Captain Marvel if you're a Marvel fan, or Batgirl if you're a DC fan. She's the token. If you're a girl, you have to like her. If you don't like her, then what is wrong with you in women equality? So,
I'm not a woman equalist, I guess.
So you can admit men are better? That's so cool.
So, first of all, I guess on the DC side, I love Wonder Woman, and I loved Batwoman. I loved Batwoman.
Batwoman was phenomenal.
She was wonderful. Everything about her storylines, everything. She's great. Batgirl, I just have never been able to get behind. And maybe it's because there's always this underlying juvenile tone to every Batgirl I've read that leads me wanting more, but not in the way that I like it and want to read more, but in that something is lacking.
So would you agree she's a very one-dimensional character?
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's why I don't like Batgirl. I feel like she's very one-dimensional. Oh no, Dick Grayson doesn't love me. I don't love him anyways. Oh, I got into trouble. I got out of it. It's cool. Oh, Dick Grayson doesn't love me. I don't love him anyways. Like, it's the exact same thing every issue.
There's no real turmoil. There's no real connection that I can feel with any Batgirl comic that I've read. And that's not even to say that the writing is lacking or that anything is missing. It's just that the character's not for me.
So just out of curiosity, I'm not trying to dissuade you from anything. Have you read any of the Batgirl since the New 52?
The Gail Simone
The Gail Simone run.
No. And I love Gail Simone. I love Red Sonja. I love Gail Simone. I just...
Adrian, have you been reading Batgirl in the New 52?
I read the first 6 and called it quits.
Okay.
I've given
Maybe
all
the
I'm
first
willing to
7.
give.
With that said, I have nothing against Gail Simone. I have nothing pro Gail Simone. She's one of those writers who I don't judge by the name. If I see Gail Simone, I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to read this. But I'm also like, I'm not going to read this. Like Grant Morrison, no, I won't read it. Like, hands down, I'm not going to read it. Charles Soule, I'm probably going to read it. Gail Simone, hit or miss. Like, she's going back to Secret Six, which I can't wait for, because her Secret Six pre-New 52 was amazing. But I feel like I'm walking all over your review on Batgirl, buddy.
No. I just wanted to gauge the panel reaction. So I read this. I did not like this at all. So far, I've only read 4 of these feature end books. I have not found one that I liked. And I read, like I said, this week I read Batgirl, I read Batman, and I read Green Lantern Corps. Last week I read...
Grayson.
Okay, I've read 5. I read Grayson, and I read...
Green Lantern.
Yep. So, essentially in this, at some point, Barbara Gordon gets married. The guy ends up jumping off the building at the wedding because some criminal shows up.
That's actually Barbara Gordon's brother who shows up.
Yeah, okay. Family connection, whatever. So she goes into this depression, whatever, ends up going and finding where Bane's camp is and trains to be the new Bane.
Yes, she does.
Bane becomes her mentor.
May I see the cover, please? And I just want to see your reaction when you see her dressed as Bane in the luchador mask.
But it's not Bane. It's Spanish for Black Beast.
I don't think it's Spanish. I believe it's French.
Oh.
And not only that,
weird.
but the name she goes by, maybe no, because noir is French, not
Noir is
Spanish.
French.
Right, Negro would be Spanish.
Is a type of cake.
So she's Black Cake?
It's a very well-known type of cake. I Googled the name because I wanted to see some interior images to kind of save to my desktop to make fun of later. And it's a cake.
Okay.
Delicious-looking cake, though.
Well, fair enough.
So tell me.
So she goes, she finds Bane's camp, she trains, he becomes her mentor, and then once she's trained, she essentially puts together a Batgirl squad.
Consisting of
Stephanie
Cassandra.
Brown, Cassandra Cain, and I don't remember the name of the other girl.
Brown's living around?
Yeah,
she's
she's
back.
back. Jinx, bum me a Coke. And
Here, have some whiskey instead.
it's Lucius Fox's daughter.
Yes, something. Tina Lucille Fox, who is 14. So they are the Batgirls, and they are following the lead of the Black Cake. It sounds that much more ridiculous when you say it out loud in
English. I just want to make a cake is a lie joke, but there's nothing to put there.
So they're fighting some villains.
There's actually pie jokes to be made, though.
Not until March 14th. Shut your mouth.
Oh.
So Bane ends up showing up somehow, and he's like, hey, I knew you were a Batgirl, I knew who you were, I knew what you were up to, and I know you want to die, or I know you want to not have to walk anymore. I know you want to go back to where you were, which is essentially a reference to Bane breaking Batman's back.
Sure. Which I don't recall if happened in the New 52 or not.
There wasn't much of the Batman mythos that was erased. It was compressed,
Right.
but I think most of it is supposed to have still happened.
Okay.
She still, I mean, in the New 52, she still got shot by the Joker and paralyzed.
Yes, and then recovered.
Right. Like that. So Bane's like, I know you want to go back to who you were before you recovered. So he's essentially saying, I'll break your back, because we see him break somebody else's back in the beginning of this issue. She's fighting back. She's like, no, I don't really want to go back to that. I'm here to defeat you. Gives him a mean uppercut, wins, and then flies off.
With his mask.
She's been wearing a mask similar to his.
Okay.
Also, while she's being trained, he says something like, you can never really be my protege until you are like me, and hands her a bunch of vials of the venom, which is what makes him raw. At the end of the issue, she says, I never took the venom. I became a god all on my own. And
god.
She looks like one of those crazy women bodybuilders that probably snaps guys' heads.
There's one of those at the gym I go to. Although she's the sweetest thing in the world. She really is.
Always are.
But when she bench presses, it's scary.
Strong women and tall women are terrifying.
I've dated both. It's a true story.
I actually have dated a tall woman who was strong. She was 6'1" and from Texas. Like, this woman was all Texan.
And she was terrifying.
Oh, yeah. If we had babies, they'd be linebackers. You guys don't know from me sitting down. I'm like 6'3" and broad as a house.
He's a giant.
Yeah. So, that was Backdoor Futures then. It's not a story that I loved. I know they have to do something to try to make the future seem different than the present.
Sure.
But this is not the right way to go. The marriage thing was good. The becoming Bane, not so good.
And we had this talk before. I like that they're trying something. It's always kind of either how this character falls from grace or dies.
Right.
And it's always, hey, this happens 5 years in the future. Batgirl actually started 3 years in the future with her wedding. 2. I apologize, 2. But the fact remains, none of this is actually going to come to fruition.
No. In 5 years comic time, which is 2045,
right?
None of this will be the story that's going on because everybody writing then will have not been born yet.
Now, I hate to bring up a comic I'm not going to review, and somebody who's kind of on my comic shit list, Kieran Gillen. Not Karen Gillan, Nebula. Kieran Gillen, the British writer.
Not Kieran Gillen from Doctor Who.
That's Nebula.
Oh,
I don't acknowledge Doctor Who.
I'm not... Okay. Oh. It's the ice, right?
It's not the ice.
You heard it here, folks. It's not the ice. So, Kieran Gillen...
Not this time.
The guy who is going to be leaving Iron Man, especially when he becomes a superior Iron Man and writing Uber,
which is not great, to be fair.
I know, and I want to like it so
Right.
much. I do. Like, and he's such a nice guy.
I still think if the trade didn't have that 0 issue in the beginning,
It would have been better.
I might be more on board.
The second trade came out on Wednesday, and I was really debating hard about picking it up. But I'm like,
Don't do it.
I didn't. I bought a board game instead.
What game?
Attaboy.
Right? Zombicide.
So, Kieran Gillen.
Kieran Gillen. I interviewed him when we were in Calgary.
Right.
And we were talking about...
You were gritting your teeth the whole time.
Oh my God, I was...
Biting your tongue.
Oh!
Please share. Go on.
Because I love Iron Man, and he made Tony Stark be adopted, have an actual brother who was living in an iron lung that Tony knew nothing about and found out while he was in space hanging out with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, everything I just said.
What are
Groot
you
knows the
talking about?
secrets.
That sounds magical.
To be fair, he
Maybe
found out
dark
with his
magical.
conversation while he was talking to Groot. And Groot said, "I am Groot," and Iron Man goes, "I have a brother.
Right.
I am Groot. He lives where?"
I'm dying.
So
Just drink more. You'll be fine.
I actually have a variant cover I want to show you. It's Jean Grey staring at Groot, and it's a word bubble, but she's a telepath. So it's him going, "I am Groot," and then his thoughts all behind the "I am Groot," and it's like 3 paragraphs long of what he's thinking while he says, "I am Groot," and she understands because she's a telepath.
He's like emoting a soliloquy while he's just like,
Yeah.
I'm Groot.
It's
I love
awesome.
everything about that.
I'll give you the
I
variants.
need that in my life.
I'll give it to you. So anyway, so Kieran Gillen did all this to Iron Man and is adopted, and so we find out he's adopted, and his brother's name is Arno.
Shut your mouth.
Arno Stark. And you're all like, dude, this is all weak sauce. And then if those of you who are familiar, Arno Stark is Iron Man 2020. Remember how Marvel did the 2020 series, the 2099 series?
I only remember 29.
Okay, before that there was 2020 stuff. So and
Was
I'm
it
all,
like a real life interview?
what's that? Yeah.
2020.
Barbara Walters.
Me and Tom Brokaw, we talked to Kieran Gillen about this. It was all over ABC News. How did you not see this? You living in a cave?
God.
So I tell him. So I'm talking
Is
to
that a
him.
Mandarin reference?
This is why we run long.
Oh my god.
So so I'm talking to him about this, and I'm like, so what's the deal with Arno Stark? What's going on? He goes, well, do you recall the Iron Man 2020 series? I go, yeah, with Arno Stark, and he had like the gears on his. Have you ever seen an Iron Man and he has these big gears on his shoulders?
Nope.
Okay.
But all right.
All right. He's like, well, so we're talking about. He goes, well, it's already 2014. If Arno Stark's the Iron Man of 2020, it's time to make this happen.
Oh, he's trying to make comic time real time?
He's making comic time real time, and bless his sweet British heart for trying. It just doesn't work because the Batman paradox. We talked about this last week. Bruce Wayne is aged 4 years. Meanwhile, Dick Grayson's aged 15. Tim Drake's aged 8. You're like, it just doesn't work. You can't do it, man.
It works within the necessity of the universe, but not
No.
in any logical
In
manner.
comic time to real time, Scott Summers should be like 60 years old right now.
Yeah, right? Instead, his younger self is screwing around with X-23 while going out in space with
Which
Corsair.
I can't blame him for, but all right.
I just
So, Arno
Moving on.
Stark.
I just had a really weird visualization of truth all of a sudden.
I don't know. You had a couple comments about Star-Lord the other day that really brought some light.
I don't even know what you're talking about. He's dreamy. He's hosting SNL, by the way.
Right, opening premiere episode.
Right.
Yeah.
So
He's no Groot.
that's just kind of like the thing. Like you can't. She loves Groot.
He's all bark.
None of Rocket's bike. We have derailed so far off the topic. I'm just gonna. You know what? Conversation's over. Avengers 34.1.
Arno Stark.
We can't quite start Sixus in Avengers yet. I'm sorry, Axis. If you look at it, it looks like a Sixus. We can't start Axis yet. We can't start what happens with the World Breaker stuff because that's going to be the end of Hickman's run, so we need a little bit of a filler. So we got 34.1. Not written by Hickman, not the usual artist. I really actually enjoyed it. It was all just about Hyperion.
Who is... Whoa, Hyperion's back? No, sorry, I'm thinking Sentry.
You're thinking Sentry, Hyperion.
Sentry, the fake the fake superhero from the 60s.
That's right. So you have Hyperion, who's been around the Avengers for a while. He came from
Patrick Ewing wrote this?
not the Ultimate Universe, but do you remember Supreme Power?
Yes.
That's
yeah,
Hyperion.
Yeah.
He's now in our universe.
Yeah.
He's looking good.
He's not
the giant
like
radioactive belt, right?
he's
dig
not
it.
Superman power. He is so far beyond Superman, it's ridiculous. So this whole thing is about how is he going to be a hero for the world? How is he going to take care of the world? And the interior art's really nice if you want to look at it. So there's this missing boy, and he's like, I'm going to help find this missing boy. He looks into the carpet to see the boy's DNA. And then he flies into space. It magnifies everything till he sees a child with the same DNA and goes and rescues him. And this whole thing is about how he is so ridiculously overpowered. How can he relate to the world? And he decides, I'm going to take this from you to read the last page. He's talking about what's he going to do. He goes, okay, we can try. You're all my children. Now, all of you, welcome to the family. So he's looking at the earth itself, and he's decided, I am your new protector. Everyone on this earth is now my child. It's not his decision to judge anyone. It's his decision to understand everyone. So he tries to understand the criminal as he's apprehending him to hear both sides and to be fair and compassionate. He still takes him in because he's a criminal. He still explains what you did was against the law. But I'm not just going to just decimate you like I can. You know you've been beaten. I'm going to take you in and treat you humanely. Overall, it's just a look into Hyperion. It's just a filler issue. But I enjoyed it. It was good. Obviously, it's not Hickman stuff because he's off getting ready for Axis and then the World Breaker thing. But I enjoyed it. It was a nice reprieve from what's been going on with Avengers. If you're a Hyperion fan, read it. It's really good.
For both you Hyperion fans.
Yeah, all three of you.
So essentially, he ends up with a god complex. That's what you're telling me.
No, he always had a god complex. But in Hickman's run, there are some children who are immortal that came to Earth. And now he's their caretaker because he's also immortal.
Is this the kids that look like white tigers?
Yes.
All right.
So now that he's
My favorite Power Ranger.
So now that he's taking care of Jason David Frank kids, he is now trying to relate to the world and what it's like to be a father.
And doing martial arts, obviously.
But yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Some sick martial arts moves. So, I have Constantine to review. Do you have another book to review?
I will throw out there Invincible. Invincible has always been one of my guilty pleasures. A lot of people make fun of this book.
Yeah, I do.
But it's okay because it's not supposed to be serious.
No, it's not.
It's a book that really makes fun of a lot of the superhero tropes. If you read some of the earlier issues from a decade ago now, because it's been going on that long, you see things like the first issue when Mark Grayson, the main character in Invincible, discovers he's got powers. He's working in a fast food restaurant, and he discovers he has powers because he's taking the trash out. And he goes to toss the bag up into the dumpster, and it flies up into the atmosphere. It's like 14 issues later, you just see this random cutaway panel to somewhere in the UK, and you see a garbage bag falling.
Oh, that's cute.
So it's things like that. It's recurring jokes that go throughout. 114 issues in, we've gotten to the point where one of the members of the Guardians of the Globe, which is like the Justice League or something like that, or the Avengers, if you will.
Or the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Nope,
Just
they're all Earthbound.
Yeah, just on Earth. I mean, you know what?
Whatever. Star Wars.
Anyways, one of them, him and his girlfriend spent a few, maybe 800 years on another planet because they fell through a pocket dimensional portal. They ended up ruling that Earth and making it this giant, like peaceful, completely no issue planet. They come back to this Earth, and this guy Rex, robot, looks at the Earth and says, "I can fix this like I fixed the other planet." So he puts all these things in play to where he's going to be in charge of all of the peacekeeping forces. That means the superhero teams, the ground police squads, the militaries, everything like that. So he's now usurped control, and he's trying to not take over the world, but control the world to where it's a peaceful place. He's like, I'm not ruling the world. I'm just being the guy that puts all the players in place to prevent crime. Your main character, Invincible, is trying to stop him. He's like, you're trying to take over the world. You're trying to become the dominant person to rule everything. I need to stop you. Well, Rex Robot, he's like, look at all the things I've done. I'm in control of all the police forces. In the 2 days that I've been in control of them, I've stopped over 9,000 murders and all these other crimes. I'm not trying to rule the planet. I'm trying to make it more efficient because that's my brain. That's how my brain works. I can control all these situations at once. I can prevent all these travesties from happening. If you take me down, if you kill me, all those 9,000 people I just saved, they're going to be killed 3-4 times over in the next week because of all the crap that's wrong with the planet. So at the end of the issue, Invincible comes back to his girlfriend. His girlfriend's like, you're alive. I thought you were going to die. What happened? And Invincible says, Robot won. He's doing the right thing. So as this predominant hero, he has to admit that this guy that's done all these terrible things to take over all the world police forces is really doing the right thing. And it's a big moral conundrum for him.
How long do you think that's going to last?
I give it 4 more issues.
4 more issues. That's a solid bet.
Yeah. It's about the end of the story arc. Yeah.
So, I have a friend who loves, nay, is obsessed with Invincible.
Okay.
What about Emily?
It is Emily.
Emily.
What's up?
We'll get into the rest of the Emily stories in the after show.
Oh, hey, yo. So,
we're going to start doing Pop and Culture After Dark. It's a whole other discussion.
It's a one-light show. Anyways, so Emily's obsessed with Invincible.
Emily is obsessed with Invincible. However, I have never picked up a single issue, trade. I've never read a page. I don't want to be a liar, bro. So, if you could give me, within 3 sentences, one reason to just start giving it a chance, what would it be?
So the whole story behind Invincible is that he is actually from an alien race that he did not know about at first. His dad was the Superman of the world, but his real mission was to take over Earth. Sentence 1.
No, that was actually 2 sentences.
Nope, that was a lot of commas.
Yeah, it was a run-on. It was very grammatically incorrect.
All right, fine. We'll give him 1.
There was an Oxford comma in there.
Oh, ouch.
Debate me on that shit.
I don't think you know what an Oxford comma is.
I
Oxford
do.
comma should be in every sentence. Those of you who don't use it, learn your grammar, bitches.
Do you use the word and? Use an Oxford comma.
Thank you. So, Invincible becomes his own superhero, fights his dad, there's all this kind of crap that goes on. But like I said at the beginning, it's really just making fun of a lot of superhero tropes. So you get these heroes in there that have your common powers, but they do stupid things. For instance, there are 2 people in there that have the ability to create copies of themselves, named Duplicate and Multipole.
That's so awful.
And isn't his girlfriend's name Adam Eve or something like
Yes.
that?
Adam Eve.
Adam Eve.
So, in addition to these big universal stories, you also get the humor injected in there. So it's like your modern heroes like Superman and Batman and things like that, but with funny backstories.
Okay. Well,
How about this one? Ready? You like The Walking Dead? Mm-hmm. Same writer.
It is
Emily.
the same writer.
See?
Totally different tone, and you have now picked up your first issue.
I've now
did.
picked up my
Hey,
first
look at
issue.
that.
I'm growing up so fast.
Well, you're getting older. I don't know that you were.
Whoa. Really? A short joke?
I can make them.
And why is
Only
that,
to
Jay?
people like me.
Hey, if I find it, I gotta call it.
It's like you're the river folk and I'm the halfling.
I'm sure that's a reference to something.
It's like a D&D reference.
I hate both of you.
What's a reference for, then?
Lord of the Rings.
Well, river folk and halflings are in D&D, too. Lord of the...
1, I've never played D&D.
Thank you.
2, I don't really care for Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
I'll see myself out.
Hey guys, this has been fun. Thanks for watching. We're done here. Thanks, Jay. Good interview. All right. Join us next week for week 5, where it'll just be Autumn and I, now that Jay is dead to us.
Peace out.
Good luck editing the video.
Oh.
No, but really, that's really it. That is really it for us this week. We've done
really
the
is.
comics. Oh no, you had one more.
Oh yes, I had Constantine. I read the trade as promised,
and that's as much as I need to hear. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Go on.
which is actually how I felt about it sitting down. I sat down with the Constantine trade because I got on a Barnes & Noble I got the trade for $7. I'm like, all right,
What a steal.
I'll give it a
It's
try.
this or a dime bag. What's my option?
And since I don't
is
smoke
Seattle.
pot, I just drink a lot of beer. I went with Constantine. I'm ready for trade number 2.
Really?
I know, right? Like, I say it, and
So next week it'll be me and Autumn.
Hey, yo.
Okay, go ahead.
I can't argue that because I was like,
It's a thing you want to hate, but you can't.
yeah. Like, I was like, okay.
Like a Taco Bell taco.
Oh my god! I just read
Doritos Locos Tacos.
I just read the Cool Ranch Taco Bell taco version of comic books. Like, I read it in my little office, like under a blanket, ashamed as I read
Don't
it.
look at me! Don't look at me!
Drinking seltzer water and lime. That's the ashamed drink.
That's the ashamed drink.
That's the ashamed drink. When I've had too much Maker's 46 or beer or whatever else, and I'm ashamed
Sorry, that's
of
a
myself.
concept I'm not familiar with. Too much alcohol?
No.
I'm
that-
4'11". It's not very much.
Okay.
I believe you should do what proper alcoholics do. Jay and I, we drink too much and then just fall asleep.
That's why I drive a pickup. You can just lay right in the back.
So Constantine, the first trade 6 issues, normal trade size, starts off kind of slow. Really builds up though. I quite enjoyed it. He's not
Would you say it's a slow burn?
It's this podcast is just
Let me enjoy it. Just let me. Go on.
this podcast has gone so off the rails.
I blame the whiskey.
I blame you.
I kind of blame me too. So it starts off slow, a slow burn, and I start to enjoy it. He's not a character you like him because you kind of like, but he's a horrible person.
Right.
Like, you find out he let one of his friends die because he knew he was going to die in a couple.
I have some friends I would let die.
He knew he was going to die in a couple weeks anyway, so he kind of essentially fed him to this demon, knowing he was going to die. Better to end his pain now than later, and got the solution from it. The mystics, the powers, it's kind of cool because he makes agreements with other mages who are not good people. Like, he is very much treading the line between going south and going north. Overall, though, it's fun. It's fake magic. It's face mystic stuff that doesn't really exist. But I've been enjoying it. Did you either of you read Shadow Man from Valiant?
No.
Only a tiny bit, not enough to really know anything.
Okay, it is. I feel like I'm reading a better version of Shadow Man. Like, instead of having the black suit and the staff, he's just rocking a trench coat and a tie.
Loose tie. He's got to be hip.
It is a loose tie. He does have to be hip. I read it because we talked about the show, and I wanted to see where that was going. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the second trade. Really am.
All right.
And it's weird because Justice League Dark, I want to like Justice League Dark. Oh, so much.
The only thing I care about in Justice League Dark is Zatanna.
Right?
Give her her own series. I'll read that.
Ready? She's in Constantine, though.
Right.
Turns
Reading
out
it.
they used to date.
Not
And
reading
she
it
hates him. Oh, she hates him, treats him like shit.
in a good way
I
or
would
in
date
the
the hell
annoying
out of
way?
In the good way. What's that?
I would date the shit out of her.
Yeah, but she dated him.
I wouldn't date her, but I'd hit it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
that's true. Because that's one spell gone bad. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, suddenly, if you forget to bring flowers on the anniversary, you're walking around with a frog arm or something. No, thank you. I'm going to anger that hymen and leave. I'm so sorry for everybody who watched
you're
this
not.
episode.
No,
This
you're
not. You're not at
is
all.
horrible.
You're
This
only
is the
sorry
best
that it's on
episode
video.
yet.
All right.
As a watcher, best episode yet.
Until she rewatches it, we'll pick up Constantine. Do yourself a favor, read Constantine.
Or download Constantine.
Or just pick it up.
Pick it up, sit it down, and walk out.
All right, that is it for week number 4. We've derailed too far. Thanks for watching. We'll be back, obviously, next week. Next week, I'm going to really try to make it a shorter episode. It's the Rose City Comic Con. I have to leave for that on Thursday. We record on a Wednesday, so we're going to do a quick podcast and load up. And I'm going to get Jay's help here to load up the truck and go.
Yeah, and we are working on getting the episodes up quicker. That's all on me. I'm trying to establish a workflow as this is a new show. I need to get all the settings preset so it flows through easier. But we're hoping to get the episode up by. My goal is to get it up by about 6 o'clock Pacific time on Thursday. We record on Wednesdays, but I have to do all my editing Thursday afternoon.
Is that okay? So it's PM.
PM.
On Thursdays.
PM.
All I'm saying is this is my Friday morning entertainment to
We're here
watch
for
you
you.
guys struggle to converse.
And now you get to see yourself struggle just as much.
Love it.
As soon as the camera goes off, though, we are hilarious.
Absolutely. You guys should see the after show.
The before show.
Right. There was some interesting stories before the show tonight.
We just got to work on that.
Yeah.
By we, I mean you guys.
Right. Yeah, because
Next
you're never coming back.
You know, the nice part is that next time she's not here next week, we can tell all the stuff she said in the first.
Right?
There it is.
So this one time, Aaron... No, I'm kidding.
You guys have a great week. We'll see you next week.
See ya.